Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Now, that's a known fact that people react to certain words or notions differently depending on what kind of experience they had in relation with those terms or actions. For instance, a victim of a rape, when she or will hear something about rape, that person will vibrate differently than a person who did not go through this kind of awful experience. The word will trigger certain feelings inside of the victim that would not be probably triggered most likely in a person who did not go through this horrific experience, or a person that experienced, sexual abuse or molestation, the same thing, or a beating and so on. So certain kinds of events that we lived through leave a little imprint or big imprint in our being and our conscious, our soul. So we vibrate differently depending on our experiences. Obviously, if someone flick me over the nose, that's not a traumatic experience. But when maybe it is, but I don't think it should. But let's say you still have it. Okay, man, Gigi flicked me over my nose. Every time you hear flick, nose, it might get you to that. Now, I don't think that's a legitimate fear or trauma. But if you went through a war as a country, as a nation, and you faced extermination, like let's say the Soviet Union with the Germans in the Second World War. I mean, the Germans did not go to Moscow to visit them and see how the Soviets are living. They went over there to take care of them, if you know what I mean. Now they come with all kind of 40 million Russians, or Soviets, died, or 20 or 30 or millions. So that country, now I'm talking about Russia, had a very traumatic experience with the Second World War. And not with the Second World War, but with the attackers, the aggressors. In this case were the Wehrmacht, the Luftwaffe, I was about to say Lufthansa. Anyway, with the Germans. They have a problem with their panzers, right? The tanks. They had problems with their, all kind of, when they hear something about Germany, they might have a little bit of, now when they hear Germany and tanks, or they hear German tanks, they might think of, I don't know, what kind of genes the rapist wore when that happened to them. So, in this case, we have to understand that, for instance, probably some Chinese would feel the same way about the Japanese. When they think about the camps and they think about the prostitution and the sex workers and all that, and Manchuria, Manchukuo, what happened over there and so on. So they could be traumatized by that in their national conscious. Like United States could hear about the Japanese, and I'm not picking on Japanese, but this is the lowest hanging fruit that I can pick right now. I don't have to go deeper than that. Let's put the Japanese and the Americans. When Americans hear about the Zero, the Japanese Second World War fighter airplane, they think about Pearl Harbor. Maybe if or you hear, Japan, Pearl Harbor, bang bang, or Hawaii, Japan. Immediately they could make this, even though I'm just saying you have certain kind of, that's inside of you. Now, I didn't say this to defend Putin, that I'm going to speak in a minute about what he said. He threatened the West, basically. And people are, oh my God, how can he say that? Well, if you deal with someone, you have to know as much as possible about that someone in order to understand when you say something that might trigger something in that person because of the previous experiences that person had. So, in this case, you have a Russian president, crazy, not crazy, however you want to call him, criminal or whatever. For him, and for some in that area, when to talk about German tanks in Russia, for them is Second World War. Now, obviously, that could be used as a propaganda and to instigate hatred and so on. Yes, but also could trigger some other feelings of unity And that's what Putin wants, doesn't he? Now, what happened? I made this introduction, so I just want to make sure that I don't want to be, don't let me be misunderstood. Joe Cocker, remember that song? At least I know it from him. I know it's many others that sang it. So, Ukrainska Pravda. It's from today, the February 22nd, 2023. Putin threatens West, and I'm quoting, not only with armored vehicles for giving Leopard tanks to Ukraine. You say, what the hell? What happened to you? Are you crazy? It's just Leopard tanks, some tanks. Well, it's not some tanks. So, Russian President Vladimir Putin has said that he would respond, and I'm quoting, not only with armored vehicles, end quote, to those who send tanks to the borders of the Russian Federation, and also boasted of Russia's many friends around the world, including in North America. Now, and I'm quoting Putin, those who involved Germany in a new war with Russia, according to him, and even more, irresponsibly declare it as an accomplished fact. Those who expect to win over Russia on the battlefield probably do not understand that a modern war with Russia will be completely different for them. We do not send our tanks to their borders. Okay, good news. But what are you going to do, Putin? But, he continues, we have something to respond with. Like what? And the matter will not end with the use of armored vehicles. Oh, so you're not going to attack us militarily? Or with armored vehicles and tanks? Then what? Everyone should understand that. End quote. Now, what he's doing here, he is using the unknown to make the other side guessing. And that's the smartest way to instill fear in someone. You don't tell the other person, hey, I'm going to punch you in the face, I'm going to kick you in the balls. No, because the person will get, oh, that's it? That's all you're going to do? Oh, I can block that, I can avoid that. But if you tell him, well, I'm going to get you sometime and I'm going to take care of you, I'm not going to tell you what, but we'll see you. But I'm not going to punch you or kick you. They say, what the hell? What is the guy going to do? So make you think, it's going to be inside of your head. Now, Putin believes that Russians have absorbed the, and I'm quoting, heritage of the winners, end quote, with their mother's milk, end quote. The president of the aggressor country, Russia, also did not forget to mention the Banderites, a colloquial term for members and supporters of the faction of the Organization of Ukrainian Nationalists led by Stepan Bandera, who Russia claims to be targeting in Ukraine, and I'm quoting, Hitler's followers, end quote, who are fighting against Russia. In addition, Putin stated that Russia has, and I'm quoting, many friends, end quote, in particular in North America, and I'm quoting Putin now. We have many friends, moreover, all over the world, in particular on the American continent, in North America, in Europe. All right, so he's not threatening anybody with tanks and armored vehicles. So I wonder what are the options, what options he has. And remember, he's just mentioning, so what Putin is doing is eliminating some threats, armored vehicles and tanks, but on the other hand, giving you a clue. It's something that you've never seen before, that you're not used to. Let me read here. How exactly did he say? He said, probably they don't understand that the modern war with Russia will be completely different for them. So you say, what do you mean? And then he says, we have many friends. He gives you a hint. We have many friends in your countries, all over the world. So what does that mean? Well, let me see if I, by elimination, no tanks, I'm thinking he's not talking about conventional weapons. I think that's a fair way to look at it, because he didn't have to say, we're not going to use AK-47s, we're not going to use AK-74, we're not going to use modernized AK, we're not going to use airplanes, he doesn't have to say that. He gave you enough, no tanks, no armored vehicles. That means there's not going to be an invasion like that. Then what? An invasion like this, maybe? Something they're not used to. What are the Westerners or the backers of Ukraine not used to? I think with some rockets. That's one interpretation, my interpretation. because the Europeans and the United States never had, or Canada, and never had an attack with missiles, aside from V1 and V2 in London. Okay, let's put that to the side. V1, V2, London, Great Britain, tralala, lululu, Second World War. And anyway, so I think could be that. Well, what kind of missiles? Another thing that they were not used on the Western countries. Could that be those ones that make a mushroom? Well, could be. Okay, it definitely could not. It's not the pa 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 pa. Hoorah, let's go. Ba, ba, ba. It's not gonna be that. That it's eliminated by two reasons: no tanks, no armored vehicles. Now, what other options are? Now we go with the hint. What's the hint? We have many friends in your countries. So that means subversive actions. That means we're gonna push some buttons in your countries and do something. What exactly can they do? What can they create? United we stand? That's the first thing that comes into my little head. So maybe it's gonna try to create, the fifth column somewhere, and try to activate some friends to do something politically, and then from politically to disrupt other things. Is that possible? I think that's exactly what he's talking about. So I don't think he's talking about the boom, which could be implanted in those guys' brain. And the other one is where we have a lot of friends. Where you live, what does it tell you? Saboteurs. They don't have to be saboteurs, like blowing up. Hey, this is a railway right here. We're gonna blow it up, like in the 1880s. The robbers, the train robbers. Not like that, or the Second World War thing of saboteurs with the trains. And no. I think something political. Well, that's it. That's the threat. And remember, the threat that is not named, it's worse than a threat that you name, because that gets you used to it and you can prepare for it. And the other one lets you think about it. Remember when you watch movies, horror movies, you can see, something, but when you see it, after 3 seconds, it's gone. You see whomever is the threat, it's gone because you got your, but when it's done with sounds, with shadows, with certain kind of high or low frequency sounds, noises, certain kind like supposedly Hitchcock used to use that's what I can't remember if it was really Hitchcock or not. They used in movies the sound of the wolf. Supposedly the wolf has a very low frequency, like a girl, but deep girl, deep, very deep, that we hear it but we don't comprehend it, like the elephants. Low frequency, they communicate. Our brain hears it, has a reaction to that, but we don't know why. That's how the panic give you a lot of information, I guess. The mass panics, the control of the masses in a demonstration is done. Certain kind of speakers, they were gonna transmit in the masses a certain kind of frequency already calculated, a certain kind of number, okay? And when that's distributed in the masses could be coordinated in acting, could start being happy, could start being afraid, could start just acting like crazy. That's why sometimes you say, what happened to those guys? Certain kind of things were activated. It's well known. It's not like I give you something that, hey, you know what, it's just between you and I. No, but the same here. Certain kind of things are, stealthily done. So I don't know where I started with wolves and with low, from the movies, and the movies the same. They gave you that, and you don't know why you're scared or you're afraid of unknown. So the same. They use, I said, the wolf has a low growl that creates panics in animals that can hear it. It had the frequency, the ability to hear it and understand it, and they're just paralyzed. Supposedly, that's the scientific whatever. So look into that if you want. And supposedly in the movies they use this kind of technique for us. You hear it, you don't hear it, but your brain hears it, and you react to whatever your brain hears it through your ears. But anyway, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.